Hello, this is David Starr, and we're going to go through a really quick how to use the ARM-TTK tool, or the ARM Test Toolkit, which effectively runs tests against your ARM templates, and should you be working on a managed application, also checks out your createUIDefinition.json file. All right, here we have an ARM template that does about the simplest possible thing you can ask it to do, and that is that it deploys a storage account. And you can see that down at the bottom in the resources section. Now, it also takes in three parameters: the name prefix for the storage account type, and location, which as usual resolves via resource group location. All right, we also have a variable in which we calculate the name of the storage account that we're about to create. So let's run ARM-TTK against this ARM template. In order to work with ARM-TTK, the first thing we need to do is get into the right directory. So I've cloned this repository into my D projects folder. I got an ARM-TTK folder for the repo as a result, and then I CD'd one level down from there into the ARM-TTK folder. At that point, I'm able to import the ARM-TTK module, so I'll do that running in a PowerShell window. Now, if you don't have the execution policy set to remote signed, you may want to check that out. I'm sure you can find that on your own, and you've probably had to deal with it before. So the next thing we want to do is we want to test AZ template, and we actually don't need that part of our path, so we'll just say template path. This template path needs to be set to the folder that contains our ARM templates. Let's jump back over to our editor. I'll right click the ARM template and select copy path. We'll then paste that in, and I'll get rid of the name of the template because it's going to operate on all files in the folder. There we go, and you can see that we don't have anything wrong with our file at this point. All of the tests pass. Feel free to actually pause the video and look through some of the tests that are being run should you choose. That way you can get a sense of what's going to be checked against all of your ARM templates. All right, so let's go back into our ARM template and introduce an error, seeing what happens. We're back in our ARM template, and I'm going to add a parameter, and we'll format the document, clean that up a bit. There we go, and we've got a parameter called legal accept. Legal accept, as you can see currently, has got a little squiggle underneath it. That's a note from our editor that we actually have a problem with this parameter. So a little warning there, but let's check it out in ARM-TTK. So here we can see that we failed the tests, and that is that parameters must be referenced elsewhere within the ARM template. Otherwise, you need to get rid of those parameters. So we can see that the ARM template doesn't actually need this parameter. We're not using it anywhere. Let's see what else we can do here. I'm going to add a new line just by copying the one above it. So we'll add a comma to the end so that we have some valid JSON, and then we're going to call this other account name. The parameters that we'll use are storage account prefix, and we're using unique string to sort of rev the name of the account. So we're not going to use storage. We'll use resource group dot location. All right, so these will come out different. Now let's go ahead and run ARM-TTK again and see what tests fail and pass. And we got that now our variables must be referenced. So not only must parameters be referenced, but so must variables. So let's actually reference this one, other account info, by going down to our outputs, and we, in a real world situation, would most likely be creating another resource. But instead, we're just going to throw this into the output real quick. And the way we'll do that is we'll say an output called other account, and we're going to define it as a type of string. There we go. And I should go ahead and tidy this up a bit. So again, we'll hit format document. There we go. From here we can select value, and we're going to give it a value. We'll give it our variable that we just defined. It's not currently being used. Other account name. There we go. We should be passing a test that we previously failed, and we'll make that true here as well by removing the unused parameter. Let's see what we have. And oh, location should not be hard coded. No resource group dot location except when used as a default value. All right, my bad there. Let's just use resource group. So we'll throw in resource group, and now our tests pass. Note I've added a new file to my solution or my project folder, and for those of you working on managed applications, you should know what a create UI definition file is. Defines the user interface for a managed app. For those of you who are only working with ARM templates, not working with Azure managed applications, the second part, this part of the video, may not be as useful for you. So note that ARM-TTK works just fine on ARM templates standalone. All right, so for those building a managed application, let's take a look at our create UI definition. It has one and only one step, so not much happening there. And the step that it does have simply gets the information that we'll need to feed into the main template to create our managed application. Right now, we're outputting 3 values that get fed in as parameters to the main template. Let's add another one, and I'm just going to hard code it. So we'll call this other output, and we'll give it a value of, actually we'll just call it false because we'll rely on it being a bool. All right, let's jump back over and run it in ARM-TTK. Here we go. We're going to run our tests, and it looks like we did get a failure. Outputs must be present in template parameters. So it turns out that the create UI definition is outputting something that doesn't go into the main template as a parameter. And that's perfect, because were we to submit this to the Azure Marketplace for certification, the create UI definition JSON file would actually fail certification, and we'd have to fix it and resubmit. So let's jump back over to our create UI definition file, and we'll get rid of that other output, and we'll see what other types of things create UI definition can look for. So we're going to add a very simple step here. We've got one step that creates the storage account. We're going to add another, and this one simply has a checkbox, and that checkbox is certifying that someone has agreed to T's and C's. All right, great. Let's run our tests. There we go. And we got a warning that, or error, that our tooltip should be present on our legal accept resource. So let's jump back. And from here, we need to input a tooltip, and we'll say tooltip and add just a simple phrase of tooltip and see if that helps us out. There we go. We were just able to run, and we got no errors this time around. Perfect. So we saw that it can check for extra outputs. We saw that it can check for tooltips. These are just small things. ARM-TTK can actually test for many, many things in our create UI definition, as you can see by the test names. Again, feel free to pause the video, browse through the test names. That's a quick trip through validating our main template.json files and our create UI definition.json files using ARM-TTK. Great tool.